Daddy, I came here today 'cause I think I might have found the one. Oh yeah, I'm head over heels in love, and I bet I can tell you what you're thinking of. Yeah, you're wondering how I know he's it. Well, my whole life I had a dad who showed me what a real man is. 'Cause Daddy, he loves me just like you do. He treats me like a queen, just like you do. He's my shoulder to cry on, he's my best friend. Oh, and Daddy, he loves me just like you. He respects Mama, he respects me. You always keep your word, you're always honest, and so is he. Just like you, Dad, he's forgiving and he knows my worth. Loves me for who I am, he's everything you believe I deserve. Daddy, he loves me just like you do. He treats me like a queen, just like you do. He's my shoulder to cry on, he's my best friend. Oh, and Daddy, he loves me just like you.
Next up, we have our mother son dance. So if you have any type of Kleenex next to you, just grab it. I'll have one over here. Yeah, I'll take it.
I just met you, seems like yesterday. You opened up your eyes and I recognized your face. You know that you're the one that we've been waiting for, we're gonna keep you safe. First time I held you in my arms, I knew I'd love you all the way. I took you in at night, another day has passed. Every week goes by a little faster than the last. It wasn't so long ago, we walked together and you held my hand. But now you're getting too big to want to, but I hope you'll always understand that I'm always gonna lift you up, and I'm never gonna let you down. No matter what you do, I'm forever proud of you. I love you forever now. Through your ears I hear it, through your eyes I see a world full of magic, full of possibilities. You know as well as anybody how tough this life can be. You've got so much strength inside you, a strength I pray you'll never need. And I'm always gonna lift you up, and I'm never gonna let you down. Time flies by, hope you realize that I love you forever
get ready to have some toasts from the matron of honor and the best man and some speeches. But before we do that, we got to get you some glasses to toast with. The glasses are at a table where the coffee was, right in front of the coffee. If you see Big John, he's waving. And so I'm going to ask that we're just going to take a couple minutes for everybody to go and get your glass and return to your table. Let's be civilized about this, people, okay?
Check, check. Ooh, hello there. Awesome. Well, so glad that you all were here to join us in our celebration of Cassie and Jefferson. Oh, don't cry already. We talked about this, Cassie. Okay. Well, if we haven't had the privilege of meeting, my name is Roman, and I have the utmost honor and privilege to stand beside Jefferson as his best man. And growing up, Jefferson and I always knew each other. We were friends, but not so close because we were at different campuses at church. So we would see each other in passing, we would have a good time when we saw each other, but that distance caused not our relationship to not be able to grow too much. And it wasn't until we both started attending college that we actually stopped being friends. We actually didn't even become close friends. We became brothers. And Jefferson, before I say what I prepared on paper, I am so proud of you and the man that you have become, the man that you are continuing to grow into. And Cassie, you know, when brothers are together, we talk. And most of the time we talk about girls. And your name, through the entire season of us being brothers, was almost at the center of every conversation. So as I am Jefferson's brother, I am honored to be your brother. And if you know my family, I am completely outnumbered with girls. But as I get you as another sister, the love of siblings has been expanded just in this one night. So I'm proud of both of you. And if I was to describe Jefferson in 2 words out of the many that I could use, it's loving and intentional. Now these 2 words may come across as soft and sweet and gentle, but in the context of Jefferson Mullins, these soft words take on meaning of strength and courage and humility. You know, Scripture defines love as being patient, full of humility and sacrificial kindness. And intentionality is living, speaking, acting with meaning and purpose. Now, I know that you can all think of times through your relationship with Jefferson that would support my belief that these are the 2 best words to describe him. But I would love for you to allow me to share some of my own. Jefferson's loving attitude has been shown in every warm hug, reassuring smile, and earnest prayer he has ever offered. And his intentionality has been clearly demonstrated in his music lessons with Danny, in his graduation from college with highest honors, and with everything else that comes into play. And you know, Jefferson, we're all aware of Jefferson's intentionality as it pertains to his health and his fitness. Just look at him. Cassie, just look at him. I don't need to say it for it to be known. But I remember going to Hugh with Jefferson a while back. We actually just went this morning, so this story applies even then. But when we went to Hugh, I was struck by the intentionality of his workout, that even when he felt the burn, even when he felt the pain, he pushed through to finish the workout, to finish his goal. Now, admittedly, when I felt the burn, when I felt the pain, yeah, you know. Well, I had to step aside because I was sure I was going to throw up. And in the middle of Jefferson's workout and focusing on what he had to do, well, he stopped. He came up to me. He said, "Hey, Roman, why are you throwing up?" I'm like, "I'm not as strong as you, Jefferson." He's like, "Hey, keep going." He was encouraging me. He took time to actually stop what he was doing, what he was focused on, to check on me, to encourage me, to see if I was okay, and to lovingly push me to continue to do the workout. And when I think of Jefferson, somehow it's so interesting that he can combine being both loving and being both intentional, and can balance the 2 better than anyone I know. And Cassie, you know that Jefferson isn't just loving and intentional in his music, in his calling to his ministry, in his workouts, but he's also intentional in his relationships. And as Jefferson and I spent much time together over the past couple of years in our nighttime prayer together, he would always pray for you. And he would pray that God would make him into the man that you need, the man that sits next to you today. And I can't tell you the amount of times that his love and his intentionality was shown through everything that he did, including his relationships. Now, Cassie and Jefferson, they lovingly and intentionally invest in their relationship, even to the point of clearly identifying every phase of the relationship. Now, if you follow the relationship, let me give you a brief timeline. Well, they started as friends, normal, right? And then they were friends plus. Don't know what that means. And then they were pre-dating. Best friends, oh yeah, friends plus, best friends, something like that. And then it was pre-dating. Well, then it was dating. Then it was pre-engaged. Now it was engaged. And I think somehow, some way, you were pre-married at one point. I don't even know. But now you're married. And although I don't think that you can get a better title than marriage, this is what I know, Cassie, about the man that sits next to you today. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Cassie, just as Jefferson has invested intentional love and care into your relationship as your relationship evolved, now that you're married, just as that evolved, Jefferson's love and intentionality will continue to evolve every single day, growing and growing into something that no title can ever express. So today, what we celebrate you two and the loving, intentional care, commitment, and love that you both share. To Cassie and Jefferson Mullins.
So Cassie, our first time hanging out, I knew we would be best friends forever. The Miami Zoo was our first double date. We met at church, prayed before we left, and headed on our mini road trip down to Miami. I remember we got lost on the way there because we were for 30 minutes straight trying to find a Starbucks. Just to let you all know, we never found one. So we settled for Miami Zoo coffee, and it tasted like it came from the Miami Zoo. So if you're headed there, I highly recommend you stopping at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts before you go. We parked and walked a few miles to the entrance of the zoo. When we got there, they said we only had about an hour left until closing time. In this very moment, I thought to myself, Lewis and I failed at being friends. We take our new friends to Miami, to a zoo with over 100 animals, and are told we only have an hour left until closing time. We quickly got our tickets and started walking. This was no longer a double date to get to know each other. It was a mission to walk the entire place in an hour. So we got our Miami Zoo coffee and started walking towards the first exhibit, which were the monkeys. So all of a sudden, these monkeys start screaming back and forth to each other, and I really thought the world was ending with these monkeys, okay? So as soon as they start screaming back and forth to each other, it starts raining. Okay, you guys, we were not prepared for this. No umbrella, we have no raincoats, but you guessed it, just our Miami Zoo coffee. So we continued on our mission. We booked it to the next undercover shelter, and that shelter ended up being the koala bear exhibit. We all learned way more than we needed to about the koala bears that day, but as soon as it stopped raining, we quickly booked out of there. So our mission continued, and Cassie and I started walking a few feet away from all the guys. It was just Jefferson and Lewis. So she started talking to me about weddings, and she showed me her stunning wedding dress, not realizing that on June 5th, I would be standing next to you as your maid of honor. It really was such a special moment that day in Miami. We've had so many special days since then, from getting our nails done, from heading down to the Hillsong concert, from helping Jefferson write some songs for a songwriting class. I remember there was a day that I got some really good news at City Nights, and you stood outside waiting for me until I got there. But the moment that you met eyes with me, you went into a full linebacker sprint from 150 yards. Coach, you would have been impressed. I was afraid that you might knock my head off with how fast you were coming in to hug me and celebrate me. But that's just who you are, Cassie. You are one that celebrates others. But tonight, we get to celebrate you and Jefferson. Cassie, I'm so grateful for a friend who will laugh with me till her stomach hurts. Grateful for a friend who will cry with me on a really hard day. Grateful for a friend who loves unconditionally. Grateful for a friend who is so beyond flexible. You care about others more than you care about yourself, and your humble heart and your commitment to serve inspires us all. Cassie, I'm so grateful for our friendship and how it has flourished over the past few years. Your laugh is so contagious, and you brighten every room you walk into. I love that we have friends that pray together, friends that will always encourage each other and lift each other up, and friends who will always be there for each other for life. Cassie, you are a stunning bride. Your joy for the Lord radiates within you. Thank you for always being you. You and Jefferson are truly a power couple, and I can't wait to see what God does in and through you guys. We're praying for you always. May you never have Miami Zoo coffee, and may you always be celebrated by linebacker hugs from the people you love. Now we can toast to this beautiful couple, Cassie and Jefferson Mullins.
Awesome. Not sure I've ever heard such well-written speeches, right? Come on, Christ Fellowship Leadership College, right? Pastor Jonathan? No, you're not here? All right, cool. Seriously, I think Roman used the score method on that one. It was good. And now it's time for some words from the father of the bride, Matthew Brinkman. Please report to the platform. I would use Romans.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Gosh, I gotta follow you guys, and I didn't even write anything. No, yeah, Cassie. Cassie has exceeded my expectations in a daughter. When I had my daughter, I had prayed that, she would get saved, go to church, be a good, godly little girl. Far exceeded my expectations. You're an amazing woman of God, and more than just, watching out for yourself, you now are intentional about leading others. And I've really enjoyed both of your, so you think you can preach at school, and you can. So I'm very, very, very proud of you. And Jefferson. So I'm going to tell you a story about Jefferson. So I got a phone call. I got a phone call from Jefferson wanting to meet me and have a conversation. I'd only met him one time at, where did we meet? Carrabba's. And he wanted to, and, I'm afraid. Like, what's he going to ask? But then I realized it's Monday at 5 o'clock. How bad can it be? Like, it's not, So we met, and we exchanged a few cordial hellos. And then he said, I got something to ask you. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to ask to marry Cassie? But they had only been, I thought they had been dating. It turned out, like Roman said, they were pre-dating mode. So he actually asked my permission to date her. And he said, well, I'd like your permission to date Cassie. And I looked at him, I said, I thought you were. and he said, well, no. We've just been hanging out with friends, but I want to date her. And I looked at him and I said, well, so what does that mean to you? And sort of flipped the script. And he put his head down and he looked back at me and he said, I want to step more into a role of a spiritual leader for your daughter. And I was like, wow. First thing that came to mind was, if I had time, and I do not have time, I think that if I scoured the entire planet, I don't think I could find anyone better. Yeah, you've got my permission. And I mean, it blew me away that, I want to become a spiritual leader for your daughter. And when he said that, I told him, I said, well, you do realize that that's reserved for a serious relationship, like fiance, husband, because that's my job. And he said, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay then, I got no problem with that. So fast forward, earlier this year, probably February, March. No. You don't know what part of the story I'm on. Probably about February or March, Jefferson and Cassie were over. And Jefferson took me aside and he said, how do you know that I'm the one? Talk about giving me questions on the spot that I don't have answers to, right? But I looked at him, I said, you know what? Here's how I know you're the one. It's because 3 years ago, you said that you wanted to step into the role of a spiritual leader for Cassie. And for 3 years, I have watched you step into that role. I have watched you do exactly what you said you were going to do. And you are a man of integrity. And that is how I know that if I had time, and I do not have time, and scoured the world, I now know that I cannot find better. And so Jefferson, I am thrilled. I am thrilled. Amazing, like gourmet thrilled that you are my daughter's husband. And you are now my son. And I'm just thrilled. So with that, I love both of you. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do, because this is no accident. This is intentional. Your love, and as everybody said, this is intentional. But Jefferson, you're a man of integrity, and Cassie, you have become a woman of integrity as well. You guys do what you say you're going to do. You guys do it with everything in you, just everything in you. There is no, holding back. When you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. So now you're married, do it.